Good morning, everyone. Saturday morning. A bit of a off-kilter stream, spontaneous and instantaneous. Hope you're all doing well this morning. I, as a person who keeps an eye on things, I guess I'm subscribed to something from the New York Times called Race Related. Once a week, I'll get an email from them on some topic or another that is, if you can believe it, race related. And what was to be greeting my eyes this morning than a article entitled, "What is Black Love Today?" I don't know. Being a lowly white man, I can't possibly understand the concept of such things. So I guess I need to have New York Times tell me. Now, I've skimmed through this a little bit because I was curious instantly as to what this was about. And within about a paragraph or two, I was like, oh, I should share this with everyone. I think everyone should learn of the plight of our author today. So in the spirit of Valentine's Day, and in order to push forward romantic notions amongst us all, let us take a few moments and consider the story of What is Black Love Today by, or I should say, Accepting Applications for a Black Boyfriend by Alyssa Mack. Yes, Alyssa Mack. Let us hear her tale. Quote, I am no longer dating white guys. Non-white guys may submit their applications in my DMs, unquote. These words, posted on my Facebook page, marked the beginning of a racial reckoning in my dating life. Some context. It was June 2020. George Floyd had just been murdered. Black people like myself were consumed with rage and were openly airing our grief. On top of that, I was a woman scorned. I was 35 years old, a highly educated black woman, a homeowner, and an attorney, and I had just been rejected by yet another mediocre white guy who then pursued a relationship with a white woman. In short, I was fed up with white people. So one afternoon, I wrote a half-crazed manifesto on my Facebook page. Specifically, I railed against a white society that clearly didn't see me as white, but insisted on rejecting my blackness because of my appearance, fair-skinned, and upbringing, middle class. White people had called me, quote, not black, unquote, for liking Taylor Swift, told me they were, quote, more black than me, unquote, because they grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, or had an especially dark tan, and fetishized my, quote, exoticness, unquote, and ethnic ambiguity. I ended my ramblings with the call for the applicants. I clicked post without thinking. I think that is actually impossible. That's my commentary. But before I miss it or anything else, over on the chat. Thank you, tall person. A surprise stream? Well, here's surprise money. Happy Hug Day. Thank you, tall person. Is today actually Hug Day? Oh boy. Well, I get to see Sister Scribe later this morning. We're going to do our usual breakfast and shopping routine, so I'll have to give her a hug if it's Hug Day. I clicked post without thinking. To my amazement, the likes and comments started pouring in. Black people saying that they'd had similar experiences. White allies thanking me and promising to, quote, do the work, unquote. I felt so vindicated. And then this popped up on Facebook Messenger. Application submitted. The message was from Josh, whom I went to high school with 18 years earlier in Maryland. He was tall, handsome, smart, funny, and successful, and black. I'd briefly reconnected with him at a bar in Baltimore in 2018 when I was in town for a work conference. We had flirted, but I remembered from Facebook that he'd gotten married. So I flew back to California at the end of the conference with a wistful what-if feeling fluttering in my chest. I soon found out through mutual friends that his marriage had ended before we connected. But seeing as we lived 3,000 miles apart, I figured there was no point in trying to pursue anything. But here he was now, reading my manifesto and submitting an actual application to date me. I was gobsmacked. Up to a point, the vast majority of my relationships had been with white men, the predictable result of years spent in a Maryland prep school and at a Massachusetts liberal arts college. In fact, it had become a running joke among my friends and family. If the guy was basic and white, he was my type. But I had never, not once, dated a black man. And I'll be honest, I had always felt a kind of shame around that, as though my not dating black men reflected a deep seated insecurity with my own blackness. But here was an eligible black bachelor offering me a chance at love and a chance at embracing my blackness. Josh and I started texting. We had a couple of video calls that were awkward at first, but became more natural. I suggested flying out to Baltimore to see him, and he agreed. On the one hand, it seemed wild and reckless jumping on a plane to visit someone I barely knew, and during a pandemic to boot. On the other, the whole thing felt like something out of a movie. I was flying 3,000 miles to have our quote, first date. We packed a lot into that 4-day first date. He took me to Baltimore's National Aquarium. He treated me to dinners and wine. He even took me to a socially distanced visit with my grandmother on her birthday. Most of all, we reveled in our blackness. We danced to hip hop in his living room, and he could dance, something I had rarely experienced with my white boyfriends. We joked about the endearing quirks of our older black relatives. We shared stories about we shared stories about being among the few black people in our respective professional arenas. Finance for him, law for me. With him, I could openly speak the language and not have to explain myself. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could. I'm sorry. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could be completely, unapologetically black with the guy I was dating. Like most my like most first dates, there were uncomfortable moments. Josh was reserved and rarely volunteered information about himself, which meant it was hard to get to know him. And while there was definitely a mutual physical attraction, I can't imagine what particular physical attribute we're talking about, there was a shyness in Josh that only seemed to fall away with the help of a few drinks. Oh, that's a good sign. Still, I chalk that up to our still getting to know one another. However, on my last night there, as we gazed at the city lights over the inner harbor, he turned to me and said, quote, "You know this isn't going to work, right?" Unquote. Completely out of nowhere. I asked him to explain. He said our personalities were too different. I'm outgoing, high energy, and emotional. He's analytical, quiet, and calm. I, both a romantic and a lawyer, attempted to argue my case. Doesn't love find a way? And he, the realistic number crunching one, pointed out the obvious practical hurdles. With the physical distance between us, there was no way to properly date or figure out how we would fit together. My fairy tale seemingly shattered. I started to cry. He seemed sad too, though whether it was because of a mutual feeling of despair or simply uneasiness at my tears, I couldn't tell. The next morning, he drove me to the airport, and I asked him to visit me in California. He gave a non-committal answer. I left wondering if I would ever see him again. Turns out I would. A few weeks after my Maryland trip, Josh asked to visit me in California. I was thrilled. I convinced myself that he wanted to visit California to see if he could make a home here with me. I planned a day trip to Napa. I borrowed my neighbor's bike for Josh so we could tool around town together in true Californian style. I proudly showed him off to my friends, took him to my favorite local haunts, and tried my hardest to prove how great we could be together. The perfect black power couple. Still, we weren't quite clicking. Josh wasn't entirely on board with my carefree Cali style. When we biked to the river on a hot day, I eagerly stripped down to splash around in the cool water, but he refused. When we strolled the sidewalks of downtown Napa, I reached out to intertwine my fingers with his, and he shook my hand off. Turns out he wasn't a fan of PDA. And the reservedness I had witnessed in Baltimore persisted. I tried to ask him questions about his family, of whom he seldom spoke. He demurred. That's personal. Yes, Josh. Yes, that is personal. That's why she's asking. As someone who had always been an open book, I was frustrated. When I drove him to the airport at the end of the visit, I had a hollow feeling. Why weren't we clicking when we were perfect for each other? At least on paper. Same hometown, same education, same career driven lives, and most importantly, or so I thought, same race? How was this not kismet? It all came to a head in the spring of 2021. Josh invited me to Baltimore for the Preakness, an annual horse race and social event. But a disagreement over a coffee maker before I arrived, he didn't own one, and for reasons I couldn't fathom, didn't want to have one on hand for my visits, pushed me over the edge. We're perfect for each other, but you don't have a coffee machine? I said, quote, if you can't even keep a coffee maker for me, it's obvious you don't care enough for me to fly 3,000 miles to see you, unquote. To my horror, he didn't argue. I said I wasn't coming, and he didn't try to change my mind. And that was it. What the hell had just happened? Oh. How did my lofty dreams fall so flat? Did I really fly to Maryland and him to California during a pandemic for nothing more than a booty call? Over time, I realized my attachment to Josh was more intellectual than emotional. Was it? Was it really? Are you sure it wasn't more, I don't know, aesthetic? I had tried to make him kind and well meaning, but unable to match my spirit or provide me the emotional connection I wanted, into my perfect boyfriend because he was black. Yeah. Josh represented the first time I naively attached my worth as a black person to the success of my relationship with a black man. But dating a black man will not make me more black, just as dating a white man won't make me less black. I am black, period. Regardless of the race or ethnicity of my next boyfriend, at least I'll know one thing. Whoever loves me next must love all of me. Alyssa Mack is an attorney and law professor based in Sacramento. Yes, Alyssa, whoever loves you next will have to love all of you. Somehow, some way. And if they don't drink coffee, well, gosh, I guess you just can't love someone who doesn't drink coffee. Because as we know, it really is the superficial things that matter most in a relationship, like coffee consumption and skin color. Because Alyssa is black. First and foremost, everyone, that's what's important. That is what is important. That is the important thing. That is the line of demarcation between potential romance and just a non-starter. You know, maybe, but she's learned her lesson. Whoever loves her next, her, right? Her. Yeah, she wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad she got the realization that she was sort of like, constructing a perfect boyfriend with the predicate of skin color, and it didn't work out because, like the guy said at the beginning, this isn't going to work, right? Because he had at least the wherewithal to understand that a relationship is more than aesthetics. Unlike you. at an age where you were already a professional adult. It amazes me. It really does amaze me that people can get so far along in life and only have these realizations somehow, but not quite. It- Yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you this morning. Just a brief sojourn into modern love from the New York Times and race related, and the trials and tribulations of Alyssa Mack in her quest to find the perfect uh, uh, boy shade, and somehow still only seemingly not kind of sort of learning a lesson from it. Anyway, that's all I had, everyone. I'll look at the chat real quick if you have anything else to say. This wasn't going to be a long stream. Let's see. Blitz Zero. Yay, I made it for once. Spoke too soon. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Blitz. It was an unplanned stream, and I'm just full of empty promises. Let's see. Somnambulation. I like my coffee like I like my women. Cold and bitter. Mm-hmm. Corn pop. And better have a coffee pop. But once you pop, you can't stop. Midnight Exile. This is third grade level reasoning skills. Yeah. Well, but no, she's an attorney and a law professor. Yes. Bridget. Coffee makers are expensive, and for a short visit, not a worthwhile purchase. Yeah, it's like, hey, I bet you, Alyssa, if you're going to come visit me over here in Maryland, I bet you if you walk 3 blocks from my apartment, you'll find a Starbucks. I mean, talk about shallow. And Jay Hess says, she still screwed him, though, didn't she? Yeah, she did. Yeah, 3,000 miles for a booty call. I mean, she didn't talk about that in detail, but I think we know what went down. But, and one more from Bridget. Does she think that people of a specific race are a monolith? What a racist. Now, Bridget. Now, I mean, in this day and age, there are just some considerations that are more important than others. She got to revel in her blackness with a guy who just happened to be black. Even though somehow, despite their shared skin color, they were 2 completely different people with different values, different priorities, different sensibilities. But how could that be? I mean, they looked similar-ish, right? That's the lesson we're supposed to get here, right? Thank you, Alyssa Mack. Oh, Ebony Williams, before I split off. Hello. Sorry, I didn't plan this. This wasn't a scheduled thing. It was just sort of spur of the moment. So good morning to you all, and Matt Barnes, and Bridget, and Shortline, and Blitz, and Corn Pop, and Samuel Nation, and Midnight in Exile, and No Name, Jay Hess, Mike Savage, Jaeger Pony, Bruno Montiero, Non Vitae Rex, Tall Person, of course, Brittany Holland, of course, Fun Time Bats. I hope you are all well. I hope you all have a wonderful Saturday. I hope to see you tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, for the Sunday stream at 6 a.m. Not 6 a.m., sorry, 8 a.m. Pacific. I was about to say 6 a.m. when I meant, anyway. I was about to do the schedule for TED Excellence, like 6 p.m., anyway. Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, for another adventure into randomness. Actually, I already have it picked out. It's about anti-racism in the medical industry. I can't wait, can you? But if I do not talk to you again until then, I hope you all have a happy Valentine's Day, if you have a Valentine, or even if you don't, because we should all love one another. Unless you don't have a coffee maker, then to hell with you. Everyone, I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.